It's often said, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. What a load of... This video is all about pushing the iPad desk setup to the next level, and it's completely over the top. The iPad has been my main computer for 5 years now. Through that time, my desk setup has changed a lot. I've pretty much just used the 12.9-inch version of the iPad Pro. I often get asked why I do this. Well, the biggest reason is I like it. It's my favorite computer that I've ever used. I've built PCs, I've used Macs, but the iPad is just the computer that I truly love. I like to think of it as a transformer. In one moment it could be a tablet, next it could be a laptop with the magic keyboard, then it can get plugged into my completely over-the-top desk setup and be a desktop computer. If you've seen my desk setup videos before in the past, you've seen this desk. It was actually custom built by my dad. He does woodworking stuff. He's done a lot of really cool projects, and this was his first big project, and I absolutely love this desk. It is my favorite piece in my office. When I sit down to work at my desk, I put my iPad and the Magic Keyboard on the Lamicall laptop stand. I like this because it elevates the iPad off the desk. It gives it a more ergonomic height, so when I do turn to look at the iPad, I can still see what's going on without having to look down or hunch over. But the biggest reason why I like using this is when I do video calls, it's at an elevated height. It's not down on the ground, which is not a flattering angle at all. It's up high, so when I'm working at my desk, I can just turn and have a video call. With the iPad on the laptop stand, I plug in the OWC Thunderbolt 4 hub. This hub has 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, a USB-A port, and then a Thunderbolt port that goes and plugs into your computer. While this isn't a ton, it covers my needs. Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 are the same transfer speeds. There's nothing different. They're 40 gigabits per second. I wanted to do this to kind of future-proof myself and also just to kind of test it out because the new iPad Pros now support Thunderbolt 4. One device that I have plugged into this Thunderbolt hub is the BenQ 3220U. BenQ sent me this to kind of test out and see how it would work with the iPad Pro. It's a 4K 31.5-inch IPS display. It also has support for a few different color profiles, including Display P3, which is what the iPad and basically every other Apple device uses. But BenQ has a special color profile called Mbook. Now, Mbook basically takes their monitors and matches Apple displays a lot closer. So while Display P3 is what the iPad and other devices use, I wouldn't say with this monitor it matches one-to-one. In fact, it's not even close. It looks a lot more washed out compared to the Apple displays. But when you put this monitor in Mbook, it looks a lot closer. I wouldn't say it's perfect, especially compared to the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro display. But with the BenQ monitor in Mbook color profile, the color reproduction is fantastic. This is how I've been editing photos and videos lately. This monitor does have HDR, but it's not the brightest. Typical usage is about 250 nits, and its peak brightness is 300 nits. Which isn't that bright. Its contrast ratio is 1,000 to 1. For some reference, the LG 4K Ultrafine that I've been using, that monitor is 500 nits with a 1,200 to 1 contrast ratio. That being said, that monitor is only 24 inches and is not HDR. One great thing about this monitor is anyone that's using a modern Apple computer has Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4 on their device. Well, this monitor supports Thunderbolt, so with one cable you can just plug it right into the side, charge your device, and have monitor support, which is fantastic. Even if you're not interested in this monitor, if you're looking to use a monitor with an iPad, make sure it supports at least USB-C. It'll make your life just so much easier if you can just have one cable to plug into your iPad to charge and have monitor support. Personally, I like having an iPad and a monitor right next to each other. You can technically use clamshell mode, meaning you could close up the iPad in the Magic Keyboard case or any other keyboard case and still use it with a monitor, but obviously you wouldn't be able to tap on the screen. You're also not able to trigger Face ID, and right now there's this really weird feature with that if something comes up where you need Face ID and it's all closed up, it just sits there and waits for you to open it back up and trigger Face ID. It doesn't give you an option to type in a password or anything. It's also great for video calls as well. Everyone's been doing a lot of them over the last year. So my setup has kind of been rethought to factor that in because I'm doing so many more video calls. I want it easy for me to just be able to jump on a call at any given time. One really cool thing about some of these BenQ monitors is they have this hockey puck device. And what this is it basically is a controller for your monitor that you can program to do different things. So there's 3 buttons at the bottom, and I programmed these to jump between different color profiles. So display P3, MBOOG, and HDR. There's also a KVM switch built into this. So I have a file server that I rarely interact with. I mostly interact with it using the SMB support in the Files app on the iPad, but every once in a while I'll, want to control it, make sure I can do software updates, or maybe I need to install something on it or whatever. I can jump to that computer by just hitting one button right on this switch. But in the middle of this hockey puck, there's a dial. You can program this to control the brightness of the monitor or even the volume. So if you plug headphones or speakers into the side of this monitor or use the built-in monitor speakers, don't do that. Monitor speakers don't sound good. But if you plug headphones or speakers into it, you can control the volume from this hockey puck dial. It's kind of nice to just spin around and have that physical control there. Pretty cool. iPadOS itself is pretty limiting when it comes to external monitor support. As you've seen, it just mirrors what's on the iPad. So it means your iPad that is a 4x3 device, it crops any monitor to be a 4x3 monitor. So even though this is at a 16:9 resolution monitor, I'm only seeing a 4x3 image. That being said, some apps like GoodNotes, LumaFusion, MindNote, stuff like that can take advantage of the 16:9 display, but they don't take advantage of it in the way most people think about it. They just show content. It's more of a presentation mode. Having this large of a monitor with the current implementation of iPadOS is kind of useless unless you're doing really specific things. So like for my workflow, video and photo editing, it was really nice to have this big of a monitor at a 4K resolution because I was able to see a lot of detail that I wouldn't be able to see on my 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I could also see somebody that does CAD work or 3D modeling appreciating a monitor of this size even paired with the iPad Pro for the same reasons, just being able to see all that extra detail. But pairing any monitor with an iPad at a desk setup is nice. You get better ergonomics, a larger display, but it's also really great for playing games and watching movies or TV shows. So a few things that I like about this monitor really quickly. It's got a nice wide base, so it doesn't wobble. It's really sturdy, so if you're banging on your desk typing away, it doesn't wobble at all like some smaller monitors or monitors with a narrow base do. It also has super small bezels, which is nice because that just looks good. Nobody's gonna complain if there's like small or no bezels on something, so thumbs up there. And it has USB-C, USB-A, and like I mentioned, a headphone jack on the side, so you can plug in external drives, SD card readers, headphone speakers, whatever you want. That's just kind of a nice feature, and it's all pretty fast too. And those devices will just pass through to whatever active computer you're using. So again, going back to that KVM switch, if I'm using my file server, it'll pass through to that. If I'm using my iPad, it'll pass through to that. A company called GroveMade reached out a while ago, and they sent me a few things to kind of test out and just kind of wanted my feedback on them. And I really liked them so much, I ended up buying a couple of other things from them. So great stuff, guys. One of the things they did send me is a monitor stand. It's this arch monitor stand to raise your monitor up a bit. Like all their stuff, it's beautifully designed. They have 2 color versions to all their stuff. The light stuff matches my desk perfectly. It looks like it was made for my desk. This monitor stand is wide, so it should fit any monitor, including this monster of a monitor that has an extremely wide base. It like perfectly fits on there, maybe kind of goes over the edge just a bit, but it's not that big of a deal. But what I like about it is the arch. So you can stick stuff underneath it. So I have my audio interface and a wireless charger down there. So I can just shove stuff down there that I don't want on my desk, that I don't want to see, but I need to still have on my desk because I may need to interact with them every once in a while. And as far as the build quality of their stuff, I would give it an A. This BenQ monitor is not light at all, and it's been holding it up for months now. I've kind of been putting off making this video because I was hoping for some stuff in iPadOS 15 that would make this video even better, but didn't come. So I can say the build quality is fantastic, have had no issues at all. It holds up this monitor that is not light at all. Let's talk peripherals. The Code mechanical keyboard. Now, if you've been around this channel for long, you've heard me talk about this keyboard 100 times easily. I love this keyboard. It is my favorite keyboard of all time that I've ever used. But I stopped using it for a while because I wore the texture off the keys. I used it so much. So what I did is I went on WASD's website and ordered custom keycaps. And these turned out fantastic. I did white for the standard keys, a dark gray for the modifier keys, and red for the escape and arrow keys, and then I got some media keys as well. And a side bonus is they changed the coding for their keycaps, so they shouldn't wear as quickly or at all, hopefully. So that's a big bonus in my book. This keyboard has the blue cherry MX switches that sound and feel amazing. You get that nice clicky feedback. Oh, I love that. I absolutely love mechanical keyboards. It feels so good to type on, and with these custom keycaps, it looks beautiful. I mean, have you ever seen anything that looks more beautiful than this keyboard? I'm just gonna go ahead and answer for you. The answer is no. So the mechanical keyboard actually gets plugged into my monitor, so that way when I use the KVM switch, I can control my file server. I don't have to go and pair another keyboard with it or anything. I can just keep using that keyboard, which is just a nice feature. Ever since the iPad got cursor support, I've been trying every interesting mouse and trackpad I could find, but I always come back to the Magic Trackpad 2. It supports all the iPad gestures like jumping between apps, going into the app switcher, going home, scrolling, all that fun stuff. It doesn't have any weird Bluetooth latency issues, and it doesn't have any scrolling issues. But most importantly, it's big. It's a big trackpad, and since this is my desk setup, I'm not taking this stuff anywhere. That's fantastic. My one complaint about it is it uses Lightning to charge. I really wish Apple would just go all in on USB-C. I get why they don't. No one needs to tell me why, but if I could be selfish about one thing at Apple that I would just be like, you guys need to do this, it would be Lightning goes away, USB-C, everything. Even though I don't use a traditional mouse, I still like to have a mouse pad. I have this extra large mouse pad that is black that just kind of accents my light desk setup really nicely. It just kind of gives it a little color or lack of color because black is whatever. Anyways, besides the point, I really like the way this looks on this light colored desk. And also it's just kind of comfortable to rest my arms on when I'm typing and using the mouse for a long period of time. BenQ also sent me a light bar to try out, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I didn't think I was going to actually like this, but turns out I kinda do. Let's dive into it a little bit and let me explain what it's supposed to do. So the light bar measures the light in the room, so it measures the temperature, how bright it is, and it can adjust accordingly. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to help with eye strain when you're using your computer for a long period of time. Now, I'm no doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and claim it does help or it doesn't help either way, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not an eye scientist, optometrist. That's what I was thinking of. So I'm not going to claim one way or another. But for me personally, I think it helped. It could be a placebo thing, maybe not, but I truly think it helped, and it's to the point where I'm going to keep it around no matter what. So like I said, it has a light sensor, so it'll measure the room light and the room light temperature, and you can manually adjust these too. So if you want it to be warmer, if you want it to be cooler, if you want it to be brighter or not, you can do that. But there's one button that you can hit and it'll just completely auto adjust everything to what the light sensor thinks it should be. After playing around with it when I was setting it up, honestly, I've just left it on the auto setting this whole time. It does a really good job at adjusting appropriately. It does a great job of keeping my work area light up, like my keyboard, trackpad, any notebooks, or anything I have sitting on my desk. In fact, it's so bright, it's replaced all the desk lamps that I've had on my desk. And when I say all, I used to have like 3 or 4 on my desk because I like a lot of light. Now I just have the light bar and that candle. Well, and that light right back there. The way it attaches is kind of genius. It just clamps onto a top of a monitor, meaning it can attach to any monitor. I've tried it on my LG Ultrafine monitor. It works just fine. It works great on this BenQ monitor, of course. So even if you don't have a BenQ monitor, you could still get it. It's just a USB cable, so you can plug it into anything to get power for it. So if we could jump back down to the Thunderbolt hub for a second, another device that I have plugged in there is a archive drive. I got this from OWC. This is a Nvme external controller. So basically you could take an Nvme chip, and I took the 2TB one out of my old file server, put it in here, and now I can basically use this as an external drive with my iPad when it's plugged into that hub. And I could use it for backing up archival footage, videos, podcasts, anything that I've finished, any projects that I might be working on that I want to keep a backup of. I just put here. It's 2TB of storage, plenty of space for me for right now. My goal in the future is to build a NAS. Last year, I bought a 2018 11-inch iPad Pro. Now, this is a refurbished model. For those that don't know, Apple has a refurbished store on their webpage. Just scroll all the way down, and it's kind of one of those bottom buttons at the bottom. And you can get really good deals on devices. Apple does a full refurb on this thing. It looks like a brand new device when you get it. Like, I've never had any issues with Apple's refurbished stuff. I bought this so I can run beta OSs on it, and I can test 11-inch iPad accessories on it as well. I was getting a lot from a bunch of people, and like I wanted to be able to test those so I could talk about them on here. But I've also been using this as a digital notebook and a reference machine. Like I mentioned earlier, I bought some stuff from GroveMade. One of those was an iPad stand, and this 11-inch iPad Pro kind of lives here. This is its base of operations, if you will. For days that I have a lot going on, I'll keep things, my task manager up, so I can just see a checklist of all the things that I need to accomplish that day and make sure I'm getting everything done. And then when I'm editing videos, I will keep a shot list of all my B-roll and the time codes up so I know where to insert those clips. That way I don't have to like just rewatch the whole video all over again and be like, I think I wanted this clip here. Nope, I have the time code. I can jump to that point and insert the clip. Since I already have the device laying around for testing purposes, it's just useful to use again. If I didn't have it for testing and I didn't have this YouTube channel where I talked about iPad stuff, I wouldn't buy a second iPad. I honestly don't see I would truly absolutely need it. But since I already have it, I figure I might as well use it for this stuff. I also use it to handwrite out notes and kind of sketch out ideas. This is where Paperlike comes in. Full disclosure, Paperlike is a channel sponsor, but what it is a matte textured screen protector. So when you're using the Apple Pencil, you get feedback. So a lot of times I will have GoodNotes or Concepts open, and with GoodNotes, I will handwrite out notes on something that I'm working on. With Concepts, I can draw out ideas or map out ideas like in a mind map style or something like that. It's just a useful utility to have when I'm working with my main iPad. If I have like a script up or a video project up, I can use this iPad kind of essentially as a second display almost, especially since things sync across. Like having a second iPad is almost like having a second monitor in a traditional computer setup. If you're curious about the Paperlike, I will put my link in the description below, along with links to everything else I mentioned in this video. When I'm not like recording podcasts or editing audio or anything like that, I use Airpods Max. These sound fantastic, they look amazing, and they're some of my favorite headphones I've ever used. Personally, I prefer wireless headphones, probably like most people, just because you don't have to deal with that cable. AirPods are great at just putting them on and pairing, and you can start listening or doing whatever you need to do. I never actually got around to reviewing these, so I'm just going to really quickly review them. They sound great. The Dolby Atmos and spatial audio stuff is fantastic. The battery life is okay. I use them for hours upon hours upon hours every single day, and I don't put them in the case at all, so I just kind of have to charge them every 2 to 3 days or so. So time for a little bit of a confession though. I use these for video editing a lot. Because I don't like wearing wired headphones, I can use these to edit video and it's fine. I don't hear any difference. I wouldn't use them for recording a podcast, and I probably wouldn't use them for editing a podcast because the timing of all that needs to be perfect, especially with multi-tracks. But when it comes to editing these YouTube videos, it's fine. I've never been a big fan of having headphones on top of the desk. Like my Audio-Technica ones, they live underneath my desk. But the AirPods Max looks so great, plus the Grove-made headphone stand that I got, it also looks good, so I kind of caved, and these live on top of my desk. The Grove-made stand, like all their stuff again, has great build quality. On the bottom of everything they make, it has this cork on it, so if it slides around on your desk, it's not going to scratch anything up. That's just such a nice touch. I can also charge my AirPods Max when they live on top of here. I can just plug that lightning cable right into the bottom of them, let them charge while they live on there. Again, I really dislike the case the AirPods Max come with. So that's it. That's this year's desk setup. Like I said, it was completely over the top. This was a long video. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.